Welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. An interesting week, as always. And one thing that really caught my eye, Dr. Lopkin, and it's really a really good insight into the liberal / Hollywood elite. And that's the Johnny Depp trial against his ex-wife. I don't even know her name. Who really cares? The only thing I would say is, if I was the judge, my order would be, my edict is you need to get remarried immediately, because you need to take both of you off the singles list, because you're made for each other, because you're both stupid, retarded, and self-engrossed. It is unbelievable. It is really an insight to the Hollywood elite, like things that would be anyone would have to deal with, we have to deal with finances, real things. Johnny Depp, yes, and I have an addiction, and the lawnmower, the landscaper in my third house cut one of my olive branches, and I was so distraught that I had to start drinking profusely. It's like, what? But that is really Hollywood, and that's how you have Hollywood insanity, and it really is true.
I'm not sure you can qualify Johnny Depp as Hollywood elite. He left Hollywood for the most part. He's been living in France for years, just to separate himself from the Hollywood elite. But the part of this whole trial that got me was there was one marriage counselor who just said both of these people are made for each other. They deserve
they're
each other.
Total elite morons.
It's like they deserve what they got because they brought it on themselves.
Yeah, you listen to this. I forgot her name. She's this entitled. She grew up horseback riding. She obviously dropped out of high school. Why wouldn't you? And he's got the beneficiary of a 9th grade education. I'm sorry, Dr. Lopkin, it's still indicative of the Hollywood elite. I'm sorry. I don't know. They live in France. I get it. Who cares? But these people are idiots, all of them. They're lecturing you and I and our audience on global warming and all this other crap. And basically, they're morons. And if it wasn't for acting, they'd be white trash. How does that sound?
Yeah, I think that's a good sum up of
That's a fair assessment,
case.
Let's be honest.
Yes.
There you go.
This was just basically two people completely unqualified to deal with the reality of relationships, and they took it out and life, and they took it out on each other.
100% correct. And the other thing is, by suing each other, or Johnny Depp sued her, whatever, they're both. His career was on the down.
Well, no, they are suing each other.
Yeah, no, she sued him first, then he sued her again in Virginia, okay? Who even cares? Who even keeps track of it? I don't care. They both sued each other, and they're both committing basically career suicide, because once you listen to this, both idiots, I wouldn't hire them for a play in Avon, Connecticut.
Did she actually have any kind of a career?
Oh, no, it's over. And by the way, the boy genius, okay? The boy genius went through $500 million. He's bankrupt. It has nothing to do with her. She had nothing to do with it. $500 million. And then the funniest thing is, yes, I get it that women in Hollywood, there's no question about that. Once you reach a certain age, it's very hard to get a part, and that is an absolute fact, right? But even for a man, you get to start being in mid-50s. You're not just going to be the, good-looking hunk guy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So they actually, and also because he's a nutcase, they wrote him out of, I don't even know if they went through with it, Pirates of the Caribbean 7, whatever it is, okay? I watched the first 2, and then I think I'm kind of good. But anyway, So
I rode the ride as a kid. That was all I needed. I've never seen the movies.
Yeah, there you go. Your first two is kind of like funny, whatever. Okay, whatever. I get it. But yeah. So anyway, so he's written out of that, and basically his only other options will be, regular movies, maybe 300, 400,000. I even doubt that after this debacle, but it's not my problem because I'm a compassionate person, and people that encounter difficulties, that, people that get laid off, people that have problems, medical problems, I'm there for you. But self-induced, thank you very much. I'm good.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't know that this really is going to be completely the end of his career. I mean, take a look at Hollywood's history. Mel Gibson came back from anti Semitic drunken rants. Uh, Eddie, Mur- Eddie Murphy came back from hiring male hookers. I mean, apparently the only crime that you can commit in Hollywood that will really destroy your career is being a conservative.
Being a conservative, but also I'm sure he pissed off a lot of people, and I'm sure he was a prima donna. And my prediction is he's done. I'm sorry. I agree with what you're saying, but I think Johnny Depp, you had to make so many accommodations. Blah blah. I wasn't there, obviously, but you're like, check please. He's 55 years old. He's like a bloated alcoholic. Check please. Done. He'll do some stupid, maybe some TV movie like Barnaby Jones remake, whatever. It's over. So we'll just move on from that. Who really gives a shit, to be honest with you? But here's okay. So you have the crazy, and then you have crazy plus. And I have been around the block, and I've never seen, never, a president, Joey Biden. He gets to a point where a bunny, who is actually one of his handlers, usually it would be a college kid, maybe a Georgetown person, and that's your, kind of cool thing to do. You're trying to make your way into politics, and you're going to be the bunny at the Easter event at the White House. But no, it was a handler, and as soon as he got some questions, they pushed him away. Is that scary to you, Dr. Lofton? Because it's friggin' scary to me.
How bad does it have to get when you're the president of the United States and questions to you are being interrupted by a guy in an Easter bunny costume?
It was a woman, actually. I thought it was a guy. It doesn't make it's no big deal.
Whoever it was.
It makes no difference. I get it. But it's one of his handlers and I saw another thing is, to that point, is today he was in New Hampshire, and all of a sudden when he goes to the podium, 3 or 4, and I think one of them is the bunny, a woman, walks toward, because you need to. It's getting a little scary, and you can joke all you want. The bunny, I get it, blah blah blah. I heard a good commentary. It's like Jimmy Carter, who was a religious man, is saying, "Thank you, Jesus Christ, for Joe Biden, because now I look like a rock star, a rock star. You look like Elvis, Mick Jagger, and Paul McCartney basically fused together, because, I mean, a bunny, it's all good."
Every time Biden appears on camera, it just gets worse and worse. I'm sure you saw the footage of him reading the Easter book and the open mic that caught him saying, well, they're not going to let me read, and Jill reassuring him, oh yes, I'll let you read. You can start off and then I'll pick up with it.
It's very scary, but on the other hand, it's more than scary, actually. It's funny, but it's more than scary, because you had the liberal media, which is really just a sidearm of the Democratic Party. They knew this guy was senile. I blame Joe Biden, Dr. Biden. Yeah, PhD in frigging education. Hello. Dr. Biden, they knew this guy was not ready for prime time, but they're willing to put their own agenda ahead of America's well-being. That's not funny.
I honestly want to see Jill Biden prosecuted for elder abuse, because
Yes.
what they've been doing to him is the definition of elder abuse. He clearly has no idea what's going on half the time, and they're sticking him in these highly stressful situations. I mean, it's getting to the point I'm almost feeling sorry for him the way they're manipulating him.
I'm not as compassionate as you are, Dr. Locke, and I'm sorry, I'm just not. I
said almost.
Almost. I think that he knew, just him. Actually, I heard a really good commentary that he actually thought he wasn't going to win. It was just a way to kind of process the whole Bo thing, and I believe you're 100% correct. That's the last time he was cognizant. He didn't expect to win, and then certain things like Bernie, who was like literally the Antichrist of humanity, was ramping up. So the whole thing was arranged. He was not ready. He did not do well, even in the debates, in the Democratic debates. But here we have it. But as we talked about, in some ways, it's a gift, because we're looking at a red wave that is unprecedented. The only thing is there's a little bit of turbulence in the senatorial races that may be a problem, but the way I would nail it right now is we're going to pick up, or the Republicans are going to pick up 2 seats, 2 to 3, but 2 is pretty secure in the Senate, and the Congress is like a landslide.
Yeah, the Congress is going to be a tsunami. It's going to hit them so hard. The Senate, yeah, I mean, they'll pick up 2 or 3. I might go as far as 4 or 5 seats, which I'll be honest.
But you would agree, Dr. Locke, in 2, correct?
Me. Oh, absolutely.
You would agree with 2.
They're going to take the Senate back. But
okay,
more importantly, from everything the Democratic strategists have been talking about, the Democrats' idea of dealing with this is to go further to the left. Well, if that's what they're going to do, anything the left puts up, first of all, it won't get past the House. But second, not only are you going to have a Republican majority to deal with, you're going to have Manchin, you're going to have Sinema, there's 6 or 7 other Democratic senators that have been breaking ranks to say, renew Title 42. You can't do all this spending. So,
and you can't do the Iran deal, Manchin said.
Right. They're stopping the Iran deal. So there are 5 or 6 Democrats who will still be in the Senate. They're expected to some of them aren't up for re-election, some are expected to win easily. So assume you've got 53 Republicans, then you've got 6 Democrats that are sick of the left's bull. You're talking about a complete change in the way we're governing.
Okay, here's the interesting part, and I do find it fascinating, disturbing / fascinating, is that you have someone that's totally out to lunch, doesn't know what day it is, has no idea today's Wednesday, and we're recording Carnivore Bites, but he has no idea about this. So I think he's just going to it is not going to be like previous administrations when they redirect. He's just going to, because he's not in charge. These people think that's their last opportunity, and they're just going to push on.
That's what the Democratic strategists have been talking about. They're talking about the fact that they believe they've been doing the right thing for the country. It's just they're not communicating it well. Elizabeth Warren came out the other day saying, we've got to push Build Back Better. We've got to do more, swing more to the left. This is the Democrats' whole idea. They honestly believe that their problem is they're not delivering for the left. And they've lost independents, they've lost moderate Republicans, they've lost 50% of Hispanics, according to recent polls.
Easily.
They're
30% of blacks will vote
yes.
Republican.
So
They've lost
losing
everyone. Let's
yeah,
just cut the
they're
crap.
losing
They've
all
lost
of their
everyone.
base because they keep swinging further to the left. If the party keeps doing this, not only are you going to see the next 2 years they're not going to get anything done, but you're going to see a Republican president in 2024. You're probably going to see Republicans take more of the House and Senate in 2024 if the Democrats keep pushing left. And there's no coattails. So local races are going to start swinging red. We've already seen traditionally blue cities and towns start electing Republicans.
Oh, there's no question about it. Many Republican strategists are thinking if the Republicans, and that's a big if, play it correctly, they could have a overwhelming majority for a foreseeable future. Because what you really have, and it's very interesting, it's the echo chamber of the Democratic Party. And that is, all the above mentioned, these people, Elizabeth Warren, who are multimillionaires, okay? All the above in this elitist chamber that don't global warming. Is it a reality? I would say yes. Global warming is something that you have to deal with. Eventually, you need to have a long-term plan. Biden's incapable of that, obviously, right? But the average American, when they wake up in the morning, they don't say, "Dear, okay, thank you for the coffee. The bacon and eggs were excellent. I'm really scared about global warming." They're worried about a friggin' check.
Right.
And that gas prices are going up to $7 a gallon. They don't give a shit about global warming.
Honestly, the way I see this going forward, 2022, you're going to see a red wave. 2024, you're going to see a Republican take the White House, and the Republicans will hold on to the Senate and the House.
Yes.
2026, you're going to see Democratic progress, because by that time the Republicans will have shot themselves in the foot, and you're going to see I'm going to guess the Democrats will take at least one of the two houses, if not both.
Here's where I question that. If you have people like Manchin, very doable. Other people as well. Okay, Harold Ford, I see him on the 5 all the time. 100% agree with you, Dr. Lopkin. But if it continues on the psychopathic, bobsled ride to oblivion, I don't see it. Sorry.
First of all, over the next 4 years, the left isn't going to be able to get anything done. They're not going to have a majority, not even a slight one. So their followers are going to lose faith in them. And I believe the Democratic Party will swing more moderate. But more than that, 2026 is the midterm election, and 96% of midterm elections have gone against the incumbent party. At that point, I'm predicting the Republicans will be the incumbent party, and they will, as it happens 96% of the time, lose control of the House.
I would say, as your analysis is spot on, the only wild card, and it's a huge wild card, I still believe the Democrats, if the Republicans can keep their shit together, that the Democrats
that's the other
alienated themselves so much. Look at you're losing blacks, you're losing Jewish voters. This is not just like a little groundswell of discontent. This is a tsunami. These people are out of control, and I blame the established Democrats for not having the balls enough to say this is out of control. Manchin, yes, thank you very much. I think he did it for his own political salvation, but I don't really care about the motivation. Very
Well,
few, they're scared shitless of
I
the
don't think he did it
nutcase.
for his political salvation. It was simply a matter of that is what West Virginia wants. That's how West Virginia has always voted. This is not a liberal state. This is a very moderate Democratic state. So he was representing the voice of his constituents, which the Democrats seem to have forgotten. That's their job.
Yeah, well, that's their job, and I think if he went along with any of this crap, that he would be thrown out on his ass. But it's also about being out of touch. You look at like even what Biden has done, hyperinflation. But any first-year economics student would know. Yeah, you don't throw $2 trillion, $3 trillion, $4 trillion into the already overheated economy. This guy, I don't get it. I swear I do not get Biden's rationale.
Biden was told before the American Rescue Plan passed by economists from the Obama administration
Oh, God.
that it was going to overheat the economy and cause huge inflation. And he chose not to believe it. The same way his military leaders told him what was going to happen in Afghanistan, and he chose not to believe them. The same way everybody told him what was going to happen at the border, and he chose not to believe it.
And you know something? What do you think of this? We'll play a little amateur psychologist for a second. I think that was because he's not really capable to begin with. I think physically, mentally, that drove him over the edge. 3 strikes and you're out, so to speak. And I think after he asserted him, because he always wanted to be against Obama, like, I'm going to be my own man. He called the shots. Every shot he called was a disaster. And now that's why he's hanging out with bunnies. I really believe he's opted out. I think he's just I think mentally, physically, and emotionally he's out. He's just not asserting himself.
I don't think he's capable of being president mentally at this point. But even before this, look at his history. 99%. I mean, remember Robert Gates? He was on the wrong side of every foreign policy decision for his 50-year career.
Forever.
If you take a look at Biden's history, for the most part, I'll make the exception actually for the crime bill because he was tough on crime at one point. But other than that,
self-serving.
He's been on the wrong side of every decision. He fought having an African American woman on the federal bench. He does what he thinks is right, and then brags. Remember, during the debates, he bragged about being able to work with racists. So, I mean, he's always been on the wrong side.
Well, he's always been incompetent. Let's get right down to the bottom line. Okay, I was in Philadelphia in his heyday in the late 80s. He ran then. He wasn't even taken serious. And believe me, Delaware is like 20 minutes away, okay? He was an abject moron then when he had somewhat of his mental capabilities left. And he's an abject liar. It's really friggin' scary, Dr. Lopkin. He talks about he taught at UPenn. He graduated
he keeps making
a law school.
He keeps making up these stories, and people that were allegedly there. Yeah, people who were allegedly there at the time are going, no, this never happened. It happened.
He got arrested
to work with a company,
with Nelson Mandela.
And the company said no.
I mean, the thing is, the guy graduated. Go ahead.
I have to actually wonder how much of that are just outright lies and how much of it is mental delusions because of his mental state.
I think that he never worked in the real world. Here I am Dr. Sherman, I'll take the Dr. mantle for a second. So he never worked a day in his life, and in Washington, you can kind of lie all day long. You can lie to interns, you can lie to anything, right? And so it's not like working in corporate America or having your own consulting company that you actually have to tell the truth. So he always got away with it. I don't think he was mentally disabled. I think he's got mental issues. He's got issues of being macho, about beating, corn pop. And, I mean, the guy's really not stable. That's an absolute fact. And he's always got this problem with how average he is. He graduated a below average law school, Syracuse University. Sorry to say, not the bottom of the barrel, but average at best. Graduated at the bottom of his class, right? Trust me, I lived in Philadelphia. There is 0.0 chance that you are going to be a professor at University of Pennsylvania. It's just comical. It's like graduating, like, I don't know, just some average school, like Central Connecticut Law School, and why would you teach at UPenn? They're not going to have you at UPenn. I mean, but that's what he said. I was a professor for 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely flabbergasted at how many times he tells stories like this. And every time the facts come out that it's a complete lie. So I don't even know why he bothers, and I don't know why his staff at this point lets him talk.
Well, they don't. You get to a point when the bunny is when you've crossed you've crossed the shark. I forgot that adage, right?
Jump the shark.
Jump the shark.
Yes.
When you have a bunny, we're going to say this right now on Carnivore Radio. When you have the bunny push you away, you have jumped. That's when you've reached rock bottom.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, very good. We have an agreement on that one. So, speaking of how things are going to change, I believe there will be mucho investigations on the esteemed president, including Hunter, that's not going to go well. I mean, how do you have Hunter in a congressional investigation committee say, okay, Hunter, the boy genius, what do you mean by the big man? How do you get out of that, Dr. Lockman? You're a smart guy. How do you get out of that one? Who's the big guy?
That's how you get out of that one. Perjury. And I wouldn't put it past Hunter to perjure himself. But
I believe Hunter will be relapsing very soon because he's never worked a day in his life. Now he's got the bright lights of more than prime time because when the shit hits the fan, they're going to come after him, and he's ill-prepared. He'll have to resort to crack, bimbos, and who knows. But he's in deep shit.
I think Hunter is very lucky that Joe Biden is his father, because if he had been born to the Clintons and pulled this, he'd have been suicided.
There you go. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, just by chance. There you go. So,
but yeah, there's going to be investigations. They've already stated this. The partisan investigations into January 6th, they're going to go away. You're going to see a lot of these corrupt Democrats like Adam Schiff, who admitted to manufacturing evidence, removed from their positions.
Oh, God, yeah.
And yes, there's going to be in-depth investigations into the Steele dossier, into Hunter Biden, into all of the things that the Democrats have pulled over the last several years. And yes, I want these things to be investigated, but my big concern is that this is just going to be another seesaw that we never get off of, where each side is going to be making up investigations on the others every time power switches in Washington.
No, it's 100% correct. I think there will be not a knockout, but gloves will be laid on the opposing boxer. I think you get things like it's such a obvious target when you have Hunter up there. It's going to be, even the mainstream media might have to cover that one, just like Johnny Depp, the boy genius. But anyway, there was a very interesting insight that I heard that the Quinnipiac poll has Biden's approval rating at 33%. And why is that interesting and very devastating? Because CNBC had him at 38%. So that's within the margin of error, and obviously suggests things are not all copacetic. But an analyst also said, I believe you said this on our previous podcast, that the Quinnipiac poll interviewed or questioned all potential voters, not likely voters. So this pollster said it's really more like 30%.
Yeah, Quinnipiac polls survey the country. It's basically everybody. However, we do know from the past that Quinnipiac's polls also tend to swing to the left. And we saw this during the 2016 election. And of course, I've spoken to folks over at Quinnipiac polling several times since then. And as far as any of them know, none of the methodology has changed in that time. So they're still swinging to the left. If they're swinging to the left and it's 33%, I mean, my God, that's the end for him.
No, that's the end. It's also so much worse because you look at Jimmy Carter. He had horrible poll numbers. I don't know exactly what they were, but they weren't good. But he was an intelligent man, and I say that in all sincerity. Policies, blah, 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 we got it, right? But he, in front of the camera, could pull up a couple of points because, yeah, you'd say, okay, we're in a recession, there's gas lines, blah, blah, blah. It's the opposite. So what do you do if you're in the Biden administration? Because every time, I'm sorry to say, he is the president of the United States, but he's an abject moron and a pathological liar, gets out in front of the public, it just gets worse. So you're really between a rock and a hard place. What are you going to do, Dr. Lotkin? You can't have this guy plead your case. It's like Johnny Depp pleading his civil case. I'm sorry to bring that up again. But yeah, I mean, it's not good. Am I correct?
No, it's not good at all. The problem is, I mean, during the Carter presidency, yes, Jimmy Carter was an intelligent man. Yes. Even more importantly, though, he was trying to do what he felt was best for the country as a whole, and he was trying to deal with the situations at hand. Obviously, looking back at history, he did not handle them well, but he was trying. Same thing, Bill Clinton. He was the darling of the left, and after the midterms of his first term, he saw, oh, okay, that's not going to work. The country does not want that. He turned direction and became much more moderate. Biden, he's stuck on this preconceived agenda. There's an old military saying that says no plan survives contact with the enemy.
The first shot, yes.
Yes, and as our friend Chris Calandra used to quote, Mike Tyson always used to say, everybody has a plan until I punch him in the face. Well, Biden has been punched in the face over and over again, but he's still sticking to the plan that's not working. And unless he does an about face and moves to the moderate Democrat that he campaigned as and tells the left to sit down and shut up, because there are enough moderate Democrats plus independents who will support him if he does that, that the left doesn't need to control him. But his handlers are all from the left, so they're not going to give him that option.
Plus, he's a feeble old man
Yes.
that is scared to death of conflict. AOC gets into his face. He will lose that debate, even though AOC and the squatters, a bunch of friggin' intellectual lightweights. You know, that compared to dementia, you're looking like a friggin' Tolstoy, okay? So he's scared to death, and I don't know if he has the capability, but I think I would conjecture that he's questioning why he ever did this crap. Speaking of why he ever did this crap, CNN Plus, we already talked about this last week, but essentially the cast has been done. It's pretty much over.
Yeah, CNN and Warner Media announced that they are ceasing. Well, no, they haven't said it's over yet.
Well, I know.
The plan,
yes.
Yeah, but they have announced that they are stopping all promotion of the platform. It looks like Discovery is going to roll it into HBO Max just to, save the money that they've already spent on it.
Oh, wait a second, Dr. Lopkin. Wait, Dr. Lopkin, does that mean I should subscribe to HBO Max? Because, God, I want to see Chris Wallace, don't I? I mean, I don't have an HBO Max subscription, but certainly, God, I mean, how could I not? What else do I get?
Well,
the rest
honestly,
of the crew?
I don't think they're doing it to boost HBO Max. HBO Max is doing fine just the way it is. It's simply a matter of taking all of their streaming services and merging them, because they have also announced that Discovery Plus, which was done by Discovery Communications prior to the merger with Warner Media, will also be merging into HBO Max. So they're just going to have one streaming service to manage. They'll throw everything in it and watch. I can guarantee you over time, the programming that they've already paid for CNN Plus will slowly fade away as each season wraps up. You'll see things not being renewed, and eventually it'll just go away.
And I have to say that I was correct last week. It's when you get a free paper. When I lived in Farmington, Connecticut, and I drove by this place that had 50 Hartford Courants stacked up, I'd pick one up once in a while to get the sports scores or whatever local high school scores, what have you. Am I actually going to pay for the Hartford Courant? Absolutely not. Yes, so it's the quandary between free goods and paid goods. It really shows what people actually value CNN, which is zero. 10,000, that's like, whoa.
Well, again, we've mentioned this in the past. Accurate. They couldn't get people to watch CNN for free. So why would they expect people to pay for it? It was badly conceived, and, the project's dead.
It's over. So a little kind of on a minor note or a less draconian note is that Motorola and others have a deal with the NBA to put no, actually, the MLB, I apologize. No, MLB, Major League Baseball. The NBA is one thing, but Major League Baseball, really, you're going to stoop to that level? But that's just my own. I'm a traditionalist.
Actually, Major League Baseball's ratings have been up this season, so I can see why they might want to do this. There's a lot more technology involved in the game, so I'm guessing that's where Motorola's coming in, because all of the stadiums need to be wired up for all this new tech. So I'm sure it's an overall deal that they'll be getting much more value than what they're paying for. So I think
something.
For Motorola, I think it's a good deal. What annoyed me was on opening day, I noticed it immediately. Every Major League Baseball's uniform had the Nike swoosh on it, and Motorola is at least an American company. for baseball, that should matter. Nike's making their products over in China using slave labor. Major League Baseball should not be in bed with them.
100% agreed. Yes, I would agree with that one 100%. And I love the fact that Major League Baseball, it's really what comes around, goes around, so to speak, that I played baseball when I was in high school, loved it. Then I kind of got away from it because, you're young, you like more action. And now, I don't know, because I'm an old guy, but I really like Major League Baseball. I don't know if that's, is there anything to read into that? I don't know. But, yeah, I'll watch a couple innings of a game, and I find it interesting.
Honestly,
and enjoyable.
I've spoken to a lot of people, and I honestly think that COVID may have been the best thing to happen to Major League Baseball, because football went on through COVID and basketball went on through COVID. Baseball, you had a shortened season, you had no people in the stands. It wasn't quite the same. It didn't feel like baseball. This year, they've made a lot of new rule changes. As I said, a lot more tech involved in it. And people are saying, you know what? We're watching baseball more often because we missed it.
Yes. I think it's a very good thing, an American institution. By the way, the most highly skilled game. If you shoot 33% as a basketball player, you're cut. 33% as a baseball player, you're
gets you into the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. So we have a couple more things here. Manchin, the Iran deal. Manchin and other Democrats are pushing back on that. Of course, Blumenthal, I don't hear him. I'm sorry to say I'm Jewish, so I have a right to say this and express my disbelief and contrarian view with our esteemed senator from Connecticut. But where is he? How come he's not? Manchin's not Jewish. What's going on with our friend from Connecticut? How come he's not saying it's something that would obviously be detrimental to Israel? I saw him on the news a couple days ago talking about some bullshit I didn't even give a shit about local restaurants or something like that. But shithead is nowhere to be seen or heard when it comes to Israel. Gee, what's all that about?
Because Blumenthal will never speak out against the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party has swung away from Israel.
Yes,
they've made room in their ranks for anti-Semites like Ilhan Omar. But,
and the rest of them, trust me, AOC, yes, the list goes on.
But God forbid you should be in favor of Israel's right to exist. The Democrats don't want to hear from you.
Well, I think it's reprehensible that Mr. Blumenthal is anything like you could have mice in Connecticut are being killed too often by roadside killings and because of assault, because of the salting of the roads during the winter. But Israel, it's like the crickets. Yes, and he will be reelected overwhelmingly in Connecticut. I don't know what that says, but it speaks volumes of the geniuses in Connecticut. Yes.
It really does, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
We've reached, certain states, and I'm not going to name the states, but it goes in both directions. Some swing Democrat, some swing Republican, and the people in these states basically vote the party line, regardless of whether or not it works, whether or not it's good for the country or their state. But voting for the opposing party is just beyond their capabilities. And the problem is, doesn't matter which party's in control, if it's Democrat or Republican. When you have one party control, things go to hell.
Yes, they do. But, there's been a tradition, myself being Jewish, that the Republicans have been on the side of Israel. Reagan, okay? Carter was no fan of Israel, and he admits it in his writings, okay? And then you have Blumenthal and the others. If you're a Jewish Democrat, you are committing your own suicide. What are you thinking about? And I'll be as dramatic as that because I believe it's true.
Yeah, I don't
Trump was
understand
the best thing
why.
that ever happened to Israel.
And I know many Jews who would not vote for Trump despite all Trump did for Israel, despite the Trump standing up for. And remember, the mainstream media portrayed Trump as an anti-Semite, as
Oh,
a
God.
Nazi, which couldn't have been further from the truth.
Ridiculous.
So the question is, when do people start paying attention to the facts and not what's going on in mainstream media?
Well, they are a little bit, because there's a recent poll that there used to be 99% of Jews out there voted for whoever was a Democrat. It's down now. It's a lot higher than it should be, but it's down to 60. They're all leaving the reservation. Let's just cut the shit.
You're
correct?
seeing that across. Yes, you're seeing that across every demographic, across every voter bloc. They are leaving the Democrats in droves, and the Democrats keep pushing. AOC, Elizabeth Warren keeps saying, well, the reason they're leaving is because we didn't go far enough to the left. And that's simply not true. The problem is you went too far to the left and you lost the independents and the moderates.
But you also lost, which is more of a phenomenon, to me at least, you've lost blacks and Hispanics, because with blacks, they have certain ideologies that I completely agree with, by the way, in terms of traditional values, especially Hispanics. They're, 98% Catholic. They believe in, again, traditional values. They're not big on the woke agenda. They're not big on the LBGQ, XL7, whatever the hell it is now.
E-I-E-I-O.
Hispanics, they have hello, they're almost gone. I mean, if you're a Democrat, you must be shitting bricks because it's not good.
Well, you know what? It goes back to Biden's comment that he said over and over again, and Psaki has stated it. They're going, oh, we don't govern by poll. We're not listening to the polls. Well, the polls are telling you what the voters want. When you say you're not governing by poll and you're not listening to the polls, it means you're not listening to the voters.
There you go.
That is a politician's job.
And that's their biggest problem, and a problem I will basically encourage them to proceed with, is they keep on putting the hammer down on policies that no one, black, white, Jew, Christian, who cares, no one who is sane would want. No one that has a job, no one that actually has a family, no one that has people in school, kids in school, I should say. No one would want this shit, but they keep on going down the road because they have a president that basically doesn't know that today is Friday. I'm sorry, it's Wednesday. My fault. There you go. Okay, so we have Kinzinger, I believe that's correct pronunciation. Him and Cheney are thinking about teaming up for an independent run. I think that has as much of a chance of me playing Major League Baseball. 0.
Yeah, I don't see that going too far, and I don't even know that it'll actually happen. Honestly, I can only really think of one politician that said, well, if such and such happens, I'm going to run as an independent, and actually did it successfully. And that was Joe Lieberman. And that was actually because he really was an independent. He did not kowtow to the party. He worked across party lines.
Wait, I got to say something. When you mentioned his name, that was, God, what happened to the Democratic Party? I would vote for Joe Lieberman in 5 seconds. I would vote for Harold Ford. He's on the 5 all the time. I mean, what the heck happened? He got basically exiled. Lieberman got exiled. I was there. I'm not there physically, but yes, he got exiled because he wasn't crazy enough. And that was in the 90s or early 2000s. Now it's like a friggin' cuckoo's nest party.
It was in the 2000s because I moved to Connecticut in 2002, and I was here for that. But I was a supporter of Joe Lieberman. I voted for Al Gore for president, not because I liked Al Gore, but because I was such a fan of Joe Lieberman. And that was the Democratic Party. And now you have Manchin is a true Democrat. Sinema is a true Democrat. These wackos on the left don't even really identify themselves as Democrat. They all put their Democratic Socialists. And I don't understand why the Democratic Party puts up with this. Stick with your base. These wackos on the left are not them.
There'll be a reformation, just like you have in religious. In religion, you had that with the Catholics, you had that with the Jews, and I think that's really going to happen. What's going to happen, just like in life, you got to get your ass kicked for an extended period of time, and then you'll wake up and say, Jesus, maybe I should get my shit together. And that's what'll happen. It's going to take probably 2024 plus for the Democratic Party to say, whoa, we are, and then they're going to have their own revolution within the party, and it's going to be a Stalinistic removal of nutcases like, and when you see it, even in her district, okay, that you see the great one, okay, AOC, people are pissed about all the jobs that she threw out with Amazon. People in her district aren't really that affluent, and they're like, what the F happened?
No.
So
AOC,
all those people are going,
in AOC's
Elizabeth Warren, who's an abject friggin' liar. I was there with a friend of mine's house when she was running for Senate and saying, oh, I won't run for president. She's just a manipulative liar. And that whole thing with her, oh, I'm running for president. Dear, could you get me a beer? Oh, yeah, she drinks beer like I do skateboarding. Please stop it. Please stop.
And no, we don't have, and I mean, this is a problem on both sides of the aisle. There's no authenticity left. It's whatever's politically expedient. And these people have to start realizing, and by these people, I'm talking about politicians, regardless of right or left. These people need to realize that they work for the American voter. They're not there to enrich their pockets. They are there to represent us and do their job. This seems to have gone by the wayside.
Could you please tell Nancy Pelosi, and there's a whole list of them, Pelosi went into Congress, probably worth like the average American, upper middle class, a couple $100,000 in a 401k. And golly gee, to quote Gomer Pyle, now she's worth like $20 million. Shazam.
Martha Stewart went to jail less than what Nancy Pelosi has done.
And Maxine Waters, same thing. She probably was negative worth when she went to Congress, and now you and I should be so lucky.
And meanwhile, their district in San Francisco is falling apart.
Exactly. Well, we'll close on the press secretary having a little breakdown. And by the way, I would say, I'm sorry to say, I think she's a liar. I don't believe in her ideology. But anyone that can cover for Basement Joe, I'm sorry to say, is A++. I mean, wow. How do you do that? Jen Psaki, there you go.
It's absolutely ridiculous. She went on a podcast and started crying over the parental rights bill in Florida, and it's very obvious that she's never read the bill. She has no idea what's actually in it, because none of what she was complaining about and none of what she was putting crocodile tears out to dramatize is actually in the bill. It's this left-wing view of the bill, which has no bearing in reality, but the whole bill is only 7 pages long. I read it. It takes you 10 minutes tops. Read the bill. All it says is that Florida schools are not allowed to discuss sex with students 8 years old and under.
Okay. And what would any sane person have a problem with that? I'm sorry. I don't have kids. I'm sorry. I have two cats. I love them dearly. I want my kids to do reading, writing, and arithmetic, and read some really nice stories at 6, 7 years old. I don't understand this indoctrination, and I think it is yet another area when you had suburban moms firmly, not that long ago, with Trump, against Trump is my point, okay, firmly in the Democratic quarters, leaving in droves, just like blacks, Hispanics, and Jews, because they are mothers, and you never interfere with a mother bear and her cubs. And
absolutely, and that's
okay. You
the
don't
Democrats have not seemed to learn that lesson. They keep alienating their voters, and the voters leave.
Well, Dr. Lopkin, I enjoyed this one. I really did. And I hope our listeners would enjoy it as well. And any parting comments, Dr. Lopkin?
Just to remind our listeners that you can catch every episode of Carnivore Bites at xvadio.com/podcasts, the Carnivore Radio website, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts. And
are we making progress towards overtaking CNN Plus? I hope that's the case.
Honestly, I think we're just about there, which is hysterical. But yes, we're basically hot on their tails, and we should be passing them any day now. And of course, if any of our listeners wants to comment on anything we've said, make your opinions known. Go to xvadio.com/connect.
Dr. Lockton, thoroughly enjoyed this one, and we'll do it again next week. Thank you very much.
We'll see you then.
Take care.